Hello everyone, welcome back to ENR 153 car project tutorial videos. In today's video, we'll be creating the last sub-assembly, assembly per se. Again, it's not too complicated, right? It has 5 different parts. One of the parts has a quantity of 2. The other 4 have a quantity of 1, right? So we have the motor. Jamaica 382 motor, 200 RPM motor. We also have the bracket. I believe the description is wrong on this drawing, but I'm just using it as a reference. I should say 1/8 by 1.5 times 1.5, 60, 61 angle aluminum. So we also have 2 of the M3's 8mm socket head cap screws. Now we have the motor shaft, which is a 6mm shaft. It's specified for the Jamaica 382 motor. We also have last, not least, is the 32 spur gear, which again, its part number is SD A1P2MY D08030D. It's a stock drive 32 motor with a set screw. So again, it's pretty straightforward, right? So we're gonna most likely start with the bracket, right? Mate that to the origin. We'll probably mate the motor next and put all the other parts in the assembly and mate those properly to make sure we have a fully mated assembly. So let's jump right in, right? So I'm gonna go to my SolidWorks. And just like we've done in the past, I'm going to go to File, New. And I'm going to start with an assembly. Again, what I want to grab first is, if I go to my car project, I believe is it car parts 3? Yep. I have my bracket. And I'm going to click open. And I'm gonna just click OK. So one thing I want to do, let's see if I open part, if I go to File, Properties, I do have the right description. It just seems like in this drawing that it grabbed the old description for some reason, but as if we would generate a new drawing, it would definitely populate it with the correct description. So I have my first part, right? Made it, and it's sorry, I thought I was in the assembly. Again, if I go back to my assembly, my first bracket part is fixed to the origin. What I want to add next is the motor. So let's move that to the other side. I'm going to go to Insert Component. In this case, it's going to be a vendor part, right? We know the motor. In this case, the other 4 parts are vendor parts. The bracket is a part that you should have created a drawing for and actually fabricated that part yourself. The other parts will be provided in a kit by your instructor. If I go to vendor parts, it's going to be the drivetrain and electrical. In this case, it's going to be Jamaica 1382 motor. I'm gonna mate that. Right, it's floating mid-air. I know this part is fixed. So what I want to do here is let's mate this face, or the circular face, that circular face, and I'm just gonna flip the direction here. Gonna click OK. Okay, so now it rotates about that axis, and I can move it left and right. So we're missing one more mate. and you guessed it, it's going to be a coincident mate between these two faces. So now I can rotate it right around that point. What I want to do here is make sure I made one of these. Select that. I'm just going to add, let's do concentric. Okay. The concentric mate could not be successfully created. Oh, I see why. It's because it's not perfectly concentric. There's two ways we can do this. It's again, it's a part that's provided by a third-party vendor. So let's do this. Let's take the top plane of that part, and let's take the top plane of that part, and let's add a parallel mate. That should fix it. Again, there's some it's in the center, but it's off by a tiny bit that SOLIDWORKS can't add a concentric mate, which makes sense. We're gonna fully fix that by adding the parallel relation between those two planes. I hope that makes sense. Again, if I go back to my edit time, you can go to mates. I'm just gonna edit feature, right? I just basically added a parallel. You can add basically between that plane and this face, right? It can be this face, the bottom face. You can also, let's say, add between that face and that face, add a parallel relation, which will lead you to the same results, right? We're basically trying to fully define that. There's different ways we can go about that, and I just went in and selected those two planes and I added a parallel mate. Again, there's different ways you can do this. I'm gonna click OK. Let's see. So let's add. I'm gonna add the motor shaft next. So let's insert a component, motor shaft. I'm just gonna rotate it a tiny bit, bring it somewhere here. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna make that circular edge with that face. Sorry, I didn't want to add a coincident. The first one I wanted to add, it's not letting me do that. Let's try that. Let's do concentric, and I want this circular edge with that circular edge, right? I want it to be right in the center. When you look at it from this view, right, it's right in the center because we added a concentric mate between those two. The next thing I want to do is add again coincident mate. Again, that's one of the most common mates we're gonna use throughout this whole sub-assemblies and the full assembly. So I'm gonna add that. Now this rotates. So depending if you want this to rotate or not, you might want to add, let's add a parallel mate between those two, right? It automatically selects that, and I'm gonna click OK. Oops, something is over defining, so I have this concentric. This mate is over defining the assembly, and why is that? Oh, that's the main one. If I add a mate between those two, concentric. I'm not sure why that happened, but I basically just deleted that concentric mate and added a new one. For some reason that seemed to fix it. I just selected two different edges, circular edges, instead of selecting the faces themselves. So if you run into that issue, what I did is deleted that, and I went in and added concentric mate between those two circular edges. If yours worked fine, then you don't have to do this step. For some reason, my SOLIDWORKS gave me an error. and I want everything to be fully defined. So I went and deleted my old mate and just created a new one. So what I want to add next is probably I'll do let's do the two screws. So it's gonna be they're gonna be an M3 8mm socket head cap screws, and we have two of those. So let's insert a component. I go to nuts and it's gonna be a screws, and for this one it's an M3 8mm cap screw, and I want to double check the part number. It's a 91290 A113. So it's this one. Place it here. Again, what I want to do, I'm going to add a concentric mate between any of these circles. I'm just going to select this edge, and I'm going to select this edge. And what I want to do here is I'm going to flip the direction. So my face is, the head screw face is facing upward. Click OK. Now it rotates, right? I can slide it in and out. So just like we've done in the past, I want to add mate between these two faces. Click OK. And then you can also add a mate, right? I can add a mate depending on if these are, let's say, I'm just going to add a parallel mate depending if these are these faces are flat and not angled, right? So it seems like it's flat, so I just added a parallel mate to lock that in. I can't rotate it, I can't slide it in or out, and it's mated fully with respect to that hole. So I don't want to go ahead and do that again. So what I might want to do is maybe select this one, go to, I'm going to do mirror components, and I might mirror about my front plane. Okay, click OK. And I have that fully mated in place, right? Again, you want to think about the best ways to do things. So you might have, again, that's why it's important to mate that with respect to the origin, right? If it's floating in space and I select my origin planes, it's going to be off. So what I want to do next is I'm going to add a mate. I need to insert a part before I do that. Also, let's insert a component. And it's going to be probably under nuts. Oh, no. Under drivetrain electrical. Yep. And I'm going to add 30-tooth spur gear. Okay. I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to maybe move it a bit out so I can see what I'm mating to. Again, it's going to be a concentric mate, so I can select that face and this face. Right, it's going to be a concentric mate, two circular, so I can rotate, can go in and out. So here what I might do is I might add a mate between this face and that face. I also might want to add a mate between the set screw top face and this flat area on the motor shaft. That's going to be parallel, right? I want that screw, the set screw, to tie in around that area. I'm going to click OK. And we have a fully defined motor and bracket assembly. So what I want to do next is I'm just going to go to File, Properties. Going to go to Summary. Just going to throw my name in here. I'm going to go to Custom. Let's do description, right? It's going to be motor bracket, gear, and screws. Click OK. So we might want to add an exploded view for this one. So let's go ahead, go to exploded view. I can select the first component I want to add the exploded view to, right? Step 1, maybe slide that one out a bit. I'll select my second one, maybe put it somewhere in the middle. Basically, I'm trying to replicate that the isometric view that we've created in the other one. So for this one, I want both these two. So I select the first one, hold the control key down, select my second one. Gonna go out a tiny bit. We have 4 steps and we're all done. So what I want to do now is add my explode line sketches. So my first one is going to be from this circular edge, right, going through that hole to this one. Okay, second one is going to be this one going back to that hole. Okay, and my last one, is this circular edge going back to my motor. Okay, go to isometric view. Perfect. So again, if I go to my exploded view, I can collapse. I can do animate explode, and you can save that motion if you would like. So let's do collapse. And then we're all set. I'm going to go File, Save As. If I go to Desktop, let's throw it in 2019. Car Assemblies, Motor and Bracket Assembly. Let's call that Motor and Bracket Assembly. And we're all set. Thank you for watching.